Welcome to my short course on how to build a CPU monitoring dashboard using Python. Here's how it'll look like. We've got a native desktop application window showing the current CPU load in real time, and all of this made with Python. As you might already know, most modern applications are built in layers we commonly refer to as the backend and frontend. The backend will be using Python, and the libraries we'll be using are Flask for the application mainframe, Executable for fetching hardware info, Flask Web GUI to embed our Flask mainframe into a native window, and finally, PyInstaller for creating an executable that can run on any computer even without Python installed. For the front-end, we'll use HTML for the UI, CSS for styling the UI, and finally, JavaScript to glue the front-end to the back-end. The JavaScript library we'll use is JQuery. You do not need to be familiar with JQuery to code along. With all that being said, let's get started. Open your code editor of choice. I'm using Visual Studio Code. Open your terminal and execute the following command to create a virtual environment. Python -add venv. If you do not know what virtual environments are, I recommend you look it up on Google. They are a great tool to have under your belt. Let's activate the virtual environment we just created. I can't do that immediately. I have to create a dummy Python file first. Now Visual Studio Code knows that we're working with Python. Now I can go ahead and press this button, go to interpreter path, find env, scripts, and then python.exe. The virtual environment is now loaded, but the terminal is not running under it, so I need to close that, click on the trash can, and open a new terminal. You'll see an env right here, and this lets you know that we are, in fact, working under our environment. Now we can go ahead and install the dependencies we need for our project. For that, enter pip install, and then we will use Flask, Executable, Flask Web GUI, and PyInstaller. Press enter and let it load. Now just installing all the dependencies we need inside our virtual environment. Great, now it's finished. And just out of convenience, do pip freeze and right angle bracket requirements.txt. This is a common practice and helpful in case you'd like to share your code with others. And this is what will be generated. Just list all requirements and the specific versions we are working with inside our project. Awesome. With that, we're done with setting up our development environment. Next, we'll create our Flask mainframe. See you there. I will not teach you how Flask works in this video, as our focus lies on how to tie different technologies together to create a software product. If you don't quite understand parts of the tag we use in this series, feel free to look things up. That's one of the best ways to improve as a developer anyway. With that being said, let's create and run a simple Flask skeleton. Create a new file called app.py. I'll just rename my existing file to that. I've got a handy extension installed and can just write HW, and it'll generate the boilerplate needed from me. Now that that's there, let's run the app and check the results. For that, just click on this button if you're playing in Visual Studio Code. Awesome. This started a server on localhost and port 5000. Open the address inside your web browser, and this is how it looks on my end. We've just got a simple website returning hello world, which is exactly what we've defined right here. As you already know, we will use HTML, and right now our app only returns a simple string, so we need to change that. For that, just import render template and create a new folder called templates excuse me. And in there, create a new file called index.html. And here we're just gonna create a simple skeleton HTML document. Go back to app.py and switch this out for run template index.html. To make things even more simple for us, we're gonna pass in debug equals true inside the app.run function call. I'm just gonna restart my app again. And let's refresh this. Now it's loading the new file. We don't really see that as well as we'd like to, so just say, hey, I'm the new HTML document. Okay, now just refresh the page. Awesome. So now we know that our Flask mainframe is loading an HTML file, which is exactly what we want. Later on, we'll have to have some kind of way to get the current CPU load from our system. And for that, we said that we're going to use the psutil module. And to just quickly test things out and get familiar with psutil, I'm just going to create a new file called temp.py and import psutil. And now I'm just going to write a little print statement. And CPU temperature, sure, why not? Add psutil dot CPU percent. The interval we'll just set to 0.1. And let's just add a little percent symbol as well. And if we run this a couple times, you'll see that it in fact gives us the current CPU load percentage, which is exactly what we want. Let me go ahead and open the web browser again. And let's go to our new endpoint, which is API/CPU. It's missing one prepositional. All right, just remove this for now. And it's restarting automatically. Refresh this, and there we go. 18.8%, 7, 11. Awesome. Now that we have our API endpoint working correctly, we'll add HTTP polling to index.html using JQuery. And with that, we're gonna just periodically call our API endpoint to receive the current CPU load at any given time. That way we'll just like in real time see the updates rendered directly inside the HTML. So to do that, go ahead and go to your index.html file. And first thing we're going to do is just add jQuery to our dependencies. And then we're going to make a script tag right inside your body tag, sorry. And just create a new function called fetch CPU usage. And this is basically just a classic standard jQuery powered GET request. And the address is API/CPU, which is, in fact, the route we define our API on. Next, we want to poll this periodically every second. So we just use setInterval, which is a standard JavaScript browser function. And in that function, we're just going to call fetch CPU usage. Awesome. Just save that. And let's head over to our browser again, refresh the page, open your console window, and awesome. So every second now, we receive the current percentage that our CPU is loaded. And this is exactly what we want. Next, we'll go ahead and actually change a text element inside our DOM interface to reflect these changes in real time. So head back over to your code editor of choice. And we're just going to also do some quick improvements on our HTML. Let's change the title as well and make that say CPU meter or whatever you want to call it. And we can delete this line too and and just make a new e tag and let it say CPU usage. And inside this element, we're also going to have a span with the ID CPU usage. And that's pretty much the markup. All we got to do now is dynamically update this markup via JQuery. And for that, we're just going to use a simple line, which is $, and the selector, which is CPU usage, and then just HTML and data. And just to verify that this works, just go back and refresh the page. And there we go. It is updating the texts we see right now in real time. Awesome. All right, let's just close this real quick and switch it back to app.run, because that just helps with debugging the app more easily. Go back to your index.html file, and here we'll add a native HTML tag progress. There we go. This comes with a couple properties that we're going to set in a second. So let's just give it the ID usage, and then max, let's go with 100, and value, set it to 0 for now. All right, and let's just open this just to see how it looks right now. Refresh the page, and there we go. Just a simple bar. Nothing too fancy right now. Let's head back to the editor. And all we gotta do now is just update the value attribute of this element inside our function fetch CPU usage. So let's just do that. With that, and change this to usage, and then just change this to val, save, and go back at it and restart. Awesome. We already got a really basic kind of loading bar looking style to it. And yeah, next we're gonna go ahead and just style this, and after that we're just gonna package the app and we're done. Awesome. Just head back to your index.html file, and then we're gonna add some basic styling to our app. First off, you're just gonna add a new style tag inside your head tag, and we're gonna import a custom font. I'm just using Google Fonts and importing Roboto. Then we're gonna address HTML and body tags to add some basic styling to it. We're just using some, like base, dark mode kind of things. We're also adding the font family Roboto that we imported right here and set that for all elements inside our HTML. And let's just go back, and this is white mode right now, so just refresh this, and there we go. Pretty slick and modern, right? Awesome. We're just gonna add some final touches to the UI. We're just also gonna add a favicon, or in other words, an app icon to it as well, to make things just look more professional. To add a favicon to our app, we just add a simple tab with href static /favicon.png to our head tag. And what I also did off screen was add a new folder called static. And just know that for Flask to work correctly, this folder actually has to be called static and nothing else. And inside there, you just have the simple icon right here. Now, if we just go head back into the browser and refresh this, you'll notice that we are now seeing our icon inside the tab, which is awesome. It'll also show, the icon inside the packaged desktop application as well later on, as we'll see. So One thing that you'll notice is that we don't show a percentage symbol next to the number. Also, when you first start the app, it's going to show nothing, which isn't that cool. So we're going to fix both these things. And this is a pretty simple fix. Just go back to your index.html file and the HTML tag for the CPU usage, just enter the span and just let us say 00.0 by default. And right there, on my cursors, we're just going to add a percentage symbol. I'll set back, refresh, and there we go. Awesome. Next up, we're just going to package the app. So first things first, we have to set the mode that we're running in back to GUI. Just comment that out. We should also probably delete this, but we don't need. And there we go. We also see the symbol, it's working. Everything's working fine. It's resizable as well, which is kind of cool. And yeah. Now all we gotta do is use PyInstaller to compile the executable. And for that, just close the app. Also close this, open a new command line interface. And if you remember, we already have PyInstaller inside our environment working. And that's what we're gonna use. Create an executable file. So all you need to do is you can basically just copy paste the command I'm about to write in, and you don't have to understand it. Just know that if you don't do it like this, it's just not gonna work. Right, here we go. So first enter PyInstaller, and then we're gonna give the executable a file name, which is meter in my case. And then we're also gonna add the one file command, or like option, which is compress everything into one executable without any data files, which is also what I like to have here. And then what we gotta do in order for this to work is do paths equals env /lib with a big L and side packages. This basically just tells PyInstaller to fetch all requirements, or like all modules that we use in our application and in our environment. And now we're just gonna do add data equals static semicolon static and add data equals templates semicolon templates. And the last thing is just our script file, which is app.py in our case. Just press enter and let this create a distributable file. Shouldn't take too long. Perfect. Now just open the folder and go ahead and open the dist folder. Then we have the CPU meter. And one thing I forgot to do is add one option. Just remembered. It's working though. Like we don't need Python or anything to make this work. So close this, and one option I forgot to add is no console. So -- no - console. Maybe, okay. Yeah, no console, just no dash between. Okay, awesome. So just go back and open this up. There we go. Standalone, pre-compiled, native desktop application. One little thing that we're gonna do, like just a little final extra thing, is add a app icon to the executable itself. I'm just gonna show that in a minute. See you then. I went ahead and off screen created a app.ico file from my favicon PNG file. To do that, you can use pretty much any online converter from PNG to ICO. And once we've got that, I put it into the root directory of my project. And all you need to do now is just to the existing or the previous PyInstaller command we used previously, just add -- icon equals app.ico or whatever your icon is called. And then it's just going to repackage the executable. And let's just go into the folder. And you'll notice on Windows, at least, if you refresh, it won't show the new icon. That's because of some caching issues. If you move this executable into another folder, however, it'll gonna show the new icon. So yeah, there you go. We got our own super native, super cool, interactive, real-time CPU loading, CPU usage monitor, dashboard, whatever you want to call it, or like just CPU meter. All right. Thanks for watching, guys and girls. I hope it was somehow educational and interesting for you to go through all of this. The complete code will be uploaded to GitHub. It's open source, it's MIT licensed. You can do with it whatever you want to do. And it'll also feature the changes I made to make it look even cooler than it already is. And yeah, with that being said, thank you for watching, and maybe we'll see each other next time. Goodbye.